Hello Greg, hope you're well. This is Dave here with the Morgan, and I just wanted to make you a little video as I am having some issues. Um, I'm sure you'll be able to support me with this, but I thought it would be easier to show you the issues that I've had on a video and explain what I believe to be the issue. Anyway, got the laptop set up and downloaded the software from the Ecumaster's website. Unfortunately, that one was an older version, but I found a new updated version of the software, downloaded that and loaded it onto my laptop. And I'm just going to turn the key on now, and we get the fuel pump. Disconnected stops flashing, connected comes up. This is all pretty good, pretty happy with this. Everything seems fine. However, if we look here, we got a coolant temperature of -36, which is obviously ridiculous. I mean, it's quite a warm day today as well. We've also got 216 kilopascals on the map sensor, and we got 20% on the TPS, and I'm pretty sure I can reset the TPS fairly easily, but obviously the sensor calibration is all out of whack. That's the first thing. The second thing relates to what I'm going to show you now. You may recall that I spoke to you about my concerns that the ECU had a CAN interface with the instrument cluster, and this is where the ECU lives in the Morgan. This is a little box that I was suspicious of, because if you look at it here, it quite clearly is connected to the ECU harness. And if you look at the wiring diagram that I showed you for the Morgan Plus 4, it also indicates that there are some what I would call CAN-based nodes that need to be incorporated within this plug and play setup, so that everything works correctly instrument wise with my Morgan. Now, I managed to phone Caerbont Instruments in Wales, who manufactured a lot of this setup for Morgan, the instrument setup, and I gave them the numbers here from this device to ask them, is this a CAN-based interface? Which it looks like it is, because as I say, it's connected to the ECU harness, and they confirmed. Very useful, helpful chap there, who is happy to work with you to resolve this issue for me. Explained to me, having looked up these codes on this particular interface box, he was able to confirm with me, yes, it was a CAN interface box that they created for the Morgan Motor Company. So moving back into the car now, obviously we've got the connections, we've got the sensor issues, and also while we're here, I am just learning this this software, but it'd be quite useful to go to ignition and then have a look at the ignition table, because having mapped a number of cars previously and having worked on the CAN system, as you know, I found this table to be a little bit of a surprise. That came preloaded on my plug and play ECU. I would expect to see a maximum advance of sort of 26 or to 28 degrees, perhaps potentially more, and I'd also in the low load areas expect to see some cruising ignition figures, more in the realms of kind of 40 degrees potentially, to get best economy at light load cruising on the motorway. I may have this all completely wrong, Greg, so let me know, but that looks like load at the bottom map, which I would expect to actually top out at 100, it being a naturally aspirated engine, although there may be reason why it's gone to 110. And I would imagine that we probably don't need it to go to 8 grand. I imagine that 6.5 would be plenty, seeing as the kind of the engine peaks out at 7.2. Anyway, that aside, more importantly, I don't want to dwell on that calibration element particularly, because we need to get this system working. Now, with the ignition on, but the engine not running. We've got a very high oil pressure reading, which is a bit odd. Obviously no temperature gauge because the car is already cold, it hasn't started. I have tried to crank it, it just cranks, it won't start. And we've got a fuel gauge, which I would imagine is just kind of a analog direct wire to gauge type connection. However, more importantly, with the ignition on, we should be seeing warning lights here. Certainly this one, which is handbrake warning. Certainly this one with ignition on, which is the seatbelt warning. I believe this one, which is the battery light. I can't really see in this darkness, but yeah, there we are. That's obviously the ignition light as well. None of this panel seems to be functioning, so that must be integrated and working with that CAN interface box and the Ford ECU. So I think that's the majority. These warning lights are really all that we need to get working. Now, I've also noticed that the rev counter doesn't work, but we have got some kind of, I don't know what that is, that looks like a kind of a pulse wave signal which is twitching the rev counter needle. Alright, so obviously we've got no rev counter and we've got none of these warning lights here, and those I would imagine are integrated with that CAN box that's been confirmed by Caerbont Instruments as being a CAN based device that works with the Ford ECU. Now, going back to the software, I can see that your ECU, the EMU Black, works on CAN based networks, and if we open up CAN here, and I am just learning this software, and we open up CAN, like I say, I'm just learning this and trying to understand what's available. So bear with me, but I have seen somewhere in here, and apologies for my lack of skill with your software. I'm just literally learning it, but I have found one of your little menus that comes up in the CAN network covers a drop down menu which includes a number of vehicle options, so some of them way more sophisticated, I would imagine, than my Morgan. All right then, Greg, I think probably I'm going to need to speak to you on Tuesday morning when you return to work, and I'm back from my holidays as well, and discuss with you how we're going to resolve this CAN issue and get my lovely new EMU Black plug and play ECU, which I'm sure is going to be fantastic, up and running and working with this this black CAN interface box from Caerbont Instruments. Like I say, I've spoken to the guy there. He's happy to work with you. Hopefully you will support me. You know, as I explained to you previously, I did have a terrible experience with CAN-Ms, so I was kind of trying to shy away from the aftermarket engine management scene after that terrible experience, but I get the impression that you're going to be much more supportive. So I look forward to speaking to you on Tuesday, and I hope this video helps you understand some of the challenges that I've had. But we've got a no start here, and we've got no instrument lights, and we've got no rev counter essentially, and we've got a CAN box here that we need to work with. So let me give you a call, and we'll discuss it in a little bit more detail shortly. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.